course, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Robert Half research indicates 9 out of 10 hiring managers are having difficulty hiring. Robert Half is here to help. Their recruiting professionals use proprietary AI to connect businesses with highly skilled talent. At Robert Half, they know talent. Visit roberthalf.com today.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Apparently, the Clippers still have some jet lag issues after being on the road for 7 games in 13 days. They were sluggish last night against New Orleans. The Clippers committed 19 turnovers and lost by 11 at Crypto.com. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George made only 7 of 25 shots. PG was 0 for 8 on three-pointers. This team needs some rest. The NBA trade deadline is today at noon. The Lakers may be on the clock. Stay tuned. Kobe Bryant's statue will be unveiled today at 3 p.m. in Star Plaza outside Crypto. Kobe is the 6th Lakers player to have a statue outside the arena. He joins Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Elgin Baylor, Jerry West, Shaquille O'Neal, and Magic Johnson. The NFL Hall of Fame, the class of 2024, will be announced tonight in Vegas. Former Chargers tight end Antonio Gates, an 8-time All-Pro, is among the finalists. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Climate is king.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that caring for the community means caring about the climate. You might have heard that we announced a pretty bold 12-month, $2 million campaign to do 4 things. Increase climate literacy, turn up the volume on communities of color in the climate conversation, connect everyday people with the resources they need to survive and thrive, and highlight frontline climate justice crusaders of color throughout this year. KBLA Talk 1580 will be bringing you insightful interviews on all of our shows to help raise your climate IQ. Each quarter this year, we will also be hosting free climate events in various communities throughout the city with food, fun, and forward-thinking conversations. Thanks to partners like LADWP, Metro, Caltrans, the Sierra Club, the California Community Foundation, the California Endowment, AQMD, MWD, and more. You'll also be hearing more about a couple of national town halls broadcasting live from Los Angeles, to which you will be invited. And we'll be rolling out a robust social media campaign on all our platforms, as well as an outdoor media campaign, all designed to educate, enlighten, and empower you in our fight for climate justice.
We want cleaner air.
Caring about the community means caring about the climate. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that we really can change the world if we care enough. 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 If we care enough.
That's about all I can afford of Michael Jackson. These royalties ain't inexpensive when you're playing the King of Pop, but he sounds as good now as he ever did. I miss that brother. In this hour, the legendary and Emmy-nominated Fatima Robinson joins us for a career conversation as a dancer, music video director, and choreographer. Yes, that's her work on Remember the Time. I love that video. Fatima has worked with everybody from Michael Jackson to Beyonce, Aaliyah, the Backstreet Boys, Big Daddy Kane, Guy, Heavy D, Mary J., the Black Eyed Peas, Fergie, Gwen Stefani. Lord God, the list goes on and on and on. I am delighted in Black History Month to have a conversation, a career dialogue with choreographer Fatima Robinson. Fatima, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
If I complained, I'd be an ingrate. I am doing well. I'm delighted.
You know, it's funny. I talked to someone the other day. He said, I'm blessed to be stressed.
There you go. Blessed to be stressed. Yeah, I get it. At least
Yes.
you're still here, right? You're still here and doing what
That's
you
right.
doing
It's
what
all
you do.
you ask for.
Yeah, that's all you can ask
Yeah.
for. That's the start, as they say. So first of all, let me just start by saying congratulations on what has been an amazing career. Of course, you're still doing stuff more than ever. We'll talk about that through this hour. But it is pretty amazing to look at the body of work, Fatima, that you have crafted. When you hear a track like Remember the Time, you think what exactly?
I mean, first, it's the fact that I'm working with Michael Jackson, who's absolutely incredible and who I grew up idolizing as a singer and dancer and performer. And the first thing I think is like, the music is so good, but also like, how am I going to figure this out as a 21-year-old hip-hop dancer fresh out of the clubs, being asked to do something on such a gigantic scale. It was daunting, but it was exciting. It was the first time I had worked with that many dancers. And then I was working with the King of Pop, who our birthdays are the same. We're both Virgos.
Mm.
And shout out to the Virgos out there. You know what that means.
Yes.
We're perfectionists. And he really did set the tone for my career. His perfectionism just really, I admired and loved so much that's kind of, I went from there on.
Yeah. I'm sure my friends are laughing right now because you are talking to a Virgo. So yeah, I'm sure I get a bunch of text. I'm sure I get a bunch of text messages about that in the next few minutes. But anyway, when you hear, let me ask you. I'm sure you've been asked this question before. Somebody just asked this first, and I want to follow up. When you get the phone call to work with somebody of the stature of Michael Jackson, does intimidation immediately set in? Like, how did you process the invite to engage with Mr. Jackson?
Well, first I ran around the room screaming because I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And then, the side of me that's creative and that knows that I bring a lot to the table and that loves dance and, that kicks in. And I began working on it, and I figure out how to build the team. I worked with a dancer named Stretch out of New York who brought such a different energy and vibe to it. We always battle each other and hang out in the clubs together, and so I wanted to have his energy and vibe, and so I brought him in to work with me. And so together we just created something that was really awesome. And also, John Singleton saw me as a young girl in the clubs dancing, and he gave me a extra role in Boys in the Hood. And so I had known John and loved his passion for filmmaking, and it was all about how can we make this be the most incredible music video, but also as Black people we're going to show up in our Egyptian ancestral way and really just show the world how it's done. And I loved his concept.
Yeah.
It was so incredible. So.
And everybody was in that video. Magic Johnson, Eddie Murphy, Iman. I mean, everybody is in this video. It's one of the best things I think that Michael ever did video-wise, and Fatima Robinson's at the center of it. Just getting started in our conversation with her. A lot more to talk about in her amazing career. I think I need to ask her this when we come forward, and that is, it's one thing to be intimidated by Michael Jackson because he's Michael Jackson. Okay, we talked about that. But there's another layer here, because it's hard to find anybody who can dance better than Michael Jackson. So when a guy calls you who's already the premier dancer on the world stage to choreograph stuff for him, yeah, let's talk about that and a great deal more with Fatima Robinson when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Interrogating and unpacking. That's what we do around here. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
The thing no one tells you about periods is that your flow changes every day, and so should your tampon size. Tampax has 5 absorbencies to match your changing flow. If it hurts to remove, go down a size. If it leaks, go up a size. Only Tampax has a leak guard braid to help give you up to 100% leak and odor-free protection. All-day comfort and protection for under $5 a month. Based on average U.S. consumer usage at manufacturer's suggested price. However, pricing is at the sole discretion of the retailer. Excludes 8-count pack.
Can't sleep with this cold.
Honey.
Honey?
Honey, you need NyQuil Severe Honey.
NyQuil Severe Honey gives you powerful cold and flu symptom relief with a dreamy honey taste.
Feeling better, honey? Honey? I'll take that as a yes.
Try NyQuil Severe Honey for powerful cold and flu symptom relief. NyQuil Severe with honey flavor. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, fever. Honeylicious, best sleep with a cold. Medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Discover, this is Daniela.
Hi, it's Jennifer Coolidge. I just want to thank you for making me feel so special. I earned cash back on debit for my dinner party groceries.
That's great, but with Discover Cashback Debit, we give everyone cash back on everyday purchases. Anything else I can help you with?
Do you like asparagus and mushroom sorbet? I've got leftovers.
Introducing Discover Cashback Debit, a checking account with cash back. It pays to Discover. Eligibility and terms at discover.com/cashback debit. Discover Bank, member FDIC.
Hey, what are you doing up on the step stool?
About to clean these light fixtures. The whole family's coming over, and if there's even a speck of dust in the house, my abuela will find it.
Here, I got a Swiffer duster to help with that.
A Swiffer what?
A Swiffer duster. It has this cool extendable handle that reaches 6 feet to get high and low, with fluffy dusters that easily trap and lock dust.
So, no more step stool?
No more step stool.
Easily trap and lock dust from hard-to-reach places with the Swiffer duster. Love it or your money back.
Smart talk for curious people just like you. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
I'm Tavis Smiley, and our guest in this hour is Fatima Robinson, the legendary Emmy-nominated choreographer, joins us in Black History Month for a career conversation. I'm delighted to have her on this program. So, Fatima, I was saying earlier that it's one thing to be intimidated because he's the king of pop, but he's not just a great singer. He doesn't just sell records. This guy is like the best dancer on the planet. So it's one thing. That'd be like asking me. I'm a pretty good orator. I mean, I do pretty well at this. But that'd be like asking me to coach Dr. King on how to give a great speech. So, like, how do you approach that part of the equation when this guy is already pretty good at this?
Yeah, well, you know, I'm a hip-hop choreographer, and I grew up, I'm one of the pioneers of hip-hop dance. I'm a claim it. And, you know, hip-hop was new for Michael. He was seeing this new style of dance with these kids coming from the clubs and moving in this new way. He was wondering, what is this? He was actually more excited than us to learn not only the dance, but, like, our culture, how we spoke, how we wore our clothes. Like, he was excited about our flavor, you know? So that's what we brought to the table. And so he was a sponge ready to learn whatever we had to give him, which was really great.
Yeah. What is
how we did that.
Now, there's a question there I want to ask right quick. What is it like? And this I think this is instructive and informative for all who are listening and watching. What is it like when you work with someone who is already at genius level, but they are open to learning? To your point, they are a sponge. They want to learn. They want to know. Their attitude isn't, I'm the king, I'm the queen, you know, what can you teach me? That's not their attitude. They are at genius level already, but they are open to learning and to growing. I was just saying to somebody yesterday that change is inevitable. Everything must change, as Bernard Aigner once wrote. Everything must change. Change is inevitable, but growth is optional. Everything changes, but you got to choose to grow. So here you are working with a genius level artist already, and to your point, he was open and anxious to learn. That's a beautiful thing, Fatima.
Yeah, I would call it curious even.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's very important for you to keep the curiosity going in your life. You know, as children, we're curious, but as adults, we kind of lose that. And so I think it's great to always just keep that level of curiosity open to discover new things. And I think that's what we brought to his life for that video.
When you see that video, remember the time. And you get so much stuff you've done. We'll talk about. But when you see that particular video, that 9-minute, 22-second video, whatever it is, all these years later. Well, let me do this first. So it's a 9-minute, 22-minute production. So that part, like, tell me about that piece of it. This ain't no 2.5 minute, 3-minute song. This is a lot of work here. So tell me about that part, Fatima.
Yeah, I mean, it was the time where people actually sat down as families to watch a debut video come on the television. You just don't even get that anymore. You know, the new generation doesn't even understand what that is. And so it was really beautiful to be a part of something so wonderful, so Black, so just the song was perfect, the artist was perfect, and then when it broke down into the dance and the way John revealed the dance was just so awesome. And I was 21 years old. I was super young. It was the beginning of my career, and it's really what solidified me to say, okay, I'm going to be a choreographer.
Yeah. There are two.
Before, it was a hobby.
Yeah. We'll come back to the hobby part in a second here. There are two ways to read that auspicious start to your career. On the one hand, you get a chance to work with the great Michael Jackson, and so the world is your oyster. Once you work with him, you can work with anybody. You can do anything. On the other, that's one way to read it. The other way to read it is that once you work with him, it's downhill from here. It's like you've already worked with Michael Jackson. So how did you process that auspicious beginning of your choreography career?
I'm so glad you asked that, because that has been like one of the most important things that I've done in my life. After working with him, I didn't have either one of those. I just went back to what I knew, which was hip hop. So after I worked with Michael, I still danced for Heavy D and Mary J. Blige and Bobby Brown and people like that. I went back to my roots and I stayed there and I grew with hip hop. So as hip hop grew, you know, I grew as well. And I never looked at it like, where do I go from here? I looked at it like, wow, that put my name in a lot of people's mouths.
Yeah.
But I have a lot more work to do, because I respected the people who came before me, the Michael Peters and Russell, I'm forgetting his last name right now, but there's so many that came before me, Vince Patterson and, you know, Martha Graham and all the people who put in work. I couldn't be at 21 years old like, I made it. No, that wasn't it at all. Yeah, I was just beginning.
Yep. How would you mentioned hip hop a few times, and that's your home. That's where you incubated your talent and your gift. We're this side of the 50th anniversary of hip hop, as we all know. 50 plus years of changing the world, and the music and the culture has become hegemonic all over the globe. Everybody's down with hip hop. We talk about the music, we talk about the culture. How would you situate dance, hip hop dance, in this conversation, looking back on its 50-plus year history?
I mean, hip-hop dance is so rooted in us. You know, when I first decided I would make choreography a career, I started going to dance classes, because before it was just a hobby that I would say clubs were my classroom. But then when I saw I could make a career out of it, I started going to classes, and the first thing I did was go to African dance. And we would be doing the same stuff that we do in hip-hop, but instead it would mean something. It would be part of the ritual of ceremony that would happen during a wedding or during a birth of a child. And it's just so amazing how the dance is just so rooted in who we are, that it reinvented itself through this music that we call hip-hop. But it's just our ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Speaking of ancestors, take me back to Little Rock, Arkansas. What was Lil Fatima like growing up in Little Rock?
Well, my mom, luckily, she went to Tennessee State, and she was a majorette there. She moved to California when I was 5.
Mm-hmm.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
She changed my life by moving to California. But every summer I spent in Little Rock, Arkansas, and I just loved living there. There's a Southern girl that still lives in me to this day. I love just sitting on the porch and playing with my cousins and, playing in the forest and just barefoot and playing in the street and just being out till the street lights came on. That was my life. And I really did love that side of growing up in the South.
Yeah. So tell me the story then of how you mentioned earlier that dance for a long time before you made choreography a career. And the clubs, I love that phrase. The clubs were your classroom. Before you became a choreographer, it was a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me more about how music and dance became your muse as a young person. Tell me the story of how you got so turned on by it.
I mean, it's the story of so many kids. We dance whenever our parents have guests over. We're the entertainment. I have 2 younger sisters, and I was always making up routines on them and dressing them in costumes and coming up with shows. It was just something we did. We double-dutched on the street. We came up with cheers. We did the hand games, It was just part of how I grew up. And but I had this extra love and passion for dance, and I would equate it to dance was my church. That's where I felt closer to God when I danced. And so that was it was just kind of my calling. My dad was a musician and played guitar, and like I said, my mom was always a dancer. She went to Tennessee State, and so it feels like a dancer and a musician birthed a choreographer. It's just music and dance was probably always around me, but I just never took lessons. My mom was busy, and my sisters took all the lessons, and I kind of was the responsible person to get them everywhere. But it's something to say about also the perspective of sitting and watching, because you learn so much as well that way.
I don't know that you can explain this, but since you said it, I'm going to try to make you explain it to the extent that I can. Try to pull it out of you. Because I love the phraseology. When you say that dancing for you makes you feel closer to God, when you dance, you feel closer to God. Can you attempt to describe what that feels like?
Yeah, it's where, whether you call your God the universe or whomever, it's like there's an alignment where I feel like I am just in tune with who I am and where I'm supposed to be and what I'm creating. It's so interesting because when I'm in the room and when the magic is happening and when it's flowing through me, or when I say the ancestors have shown up, it's like, man, it's such a feeling. It's so amazing. You just feel like you're doing your purpose. You're just on what you're supposed to be, what you're on the planet to do. And I just love it so much because I really, truly feel like it's a gift that I've been given to do what I do. And so,
Yeah. No, it is a gift. There's no question about that. And you're working it out. She's got the gift and she's got to use it. And she is using it quite nicely. You mentioned, I wanted to go there. You mentioned John Singleton a couple times. But I am certain you recall. Take me back to the night that John sort of discovered you. I'm putting that in air quotes. Tell me about that night. You recall it?
Yeah, we were in a dance contest. The name of my group was called Feminine Touch. And the previous years, the dance contest, the girls who won, they went on to dance for BBD. They were called Straight Ahead. And then the year before that, the guys who won became the Far Side. So if you won this dance contest, you were destined to do something, So we won, and John came up to us at the end, and he was like, John is, if anyone knows him, he's just so enthusiastic and wants to tell you everything right there, and he's just so excited about film. And he was like, I'm going to put y'all in my movie. And we were like, yeah, whatever. We're like, who is this guy? And to be a part of Boys in the Hood, we were in the barbecue scene dancing. But just to be a part of that. And I remember the actress that played Ice Cube's mom. I remember her looking at me at in between takes one time. We were just all dancing and being silly. And she said, she looked at me and she said, "You're too pretty to be an extra." And I was like, oh, wow. That was amazing. But, we were just so happy to be on set. We were learning all about what Screen Actors Guild was. And, you can be a dancer in the guild and you can have health and pension. Like, all of it was so new. I was 18 years old, just figuring it out right out of high school. I didn't want to go to college. My mom and grandmother were freaking out. And I just felt like my path, I was on it already, and I was figuring it out.
When we think about Boys in the Hood, let's just pause for a second. First of all, just do a tribute to John Singleton, because his career was so amazing. We lost John way too soon. My studio is right down the street, literally a block and a half, 2 blocks from where John's offices were. So John and I saw each other all the time, and fraternity brothers and friends. So just an amazing career. But when we think about that film, Boys in the Hood, and all the folk who were in it, and how it was a shot in the arm for all of their careers. You already mentioned Ice Cube. Look at what happens to his career after that. Look at what happens to Morris Chestnut, Lawrence Fishburne, Angela Bassett is in this. Nia Long is in this. Everybody's in this, and here you are getting your, John Singleton keeps his word, tells the truth, and puts you in this project. And I'm thinking about Boys in the Hood, and back to earlier conversation about Michael Jackson. Remember the time? I mean, you have had and had at such an early age, you were involved in some pretty iconic projects. Now, at the time, we may not have known what they were going to become. But you were involved in like a few major, iconic, artistic projects at a very early age. You ever think about that when you look back?
I do, especially having a 23-year-old son. I kind of look at his life. I'm just like, wow, I was doing that at that age. You get to see mentally where you are. But yeah, it was good. I graduated high school at 16. I was always taking care of my sisters. I kind of was given a lot of responsibility at a young age.
Right.
So, and I'm an old soul, Tavis. I've been here before, and I feel that. And so for me, I think, although there were times where I'd go to the bathroom and have a good cry, but I'd wipe my tears and I'd come out and I'd say 5, 6, 7, 8, Yeah. And so I loved it. Yeah.
Our guest in this hour is Fatima Robinson, and as I mentioned a moment ago, you talk about doing some pretty iconic stuff very, very early in your career. As a kid, basically, she's hanging out with Michael Jackson and working on Remember the Time, and as a kid, she's in Boys in the Hood with John Singleton. I mean, it's a pretty amazing life when you can start out your career that way, and all that happened before she became a choreographer as a career. And we are honored to have a career conversation with her. So much more to talk about. She worked with a lot of people, including Aaliyah. And I'm getting touched because so many of these great artists that she worked with are no longer with us. Michael is gone. John Singleton is gone. Aaliyah is gone. I want to talk about Aaliyah when we come forward, and a great deal more with this great choreographer, Fatima Robinson, who we're honored to have on Tavis Smiley right now.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. Benefitscheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. my hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful they saved my baby's life.
Finding Cures, Saving Children. Learn more at stjude.org.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. 5 Marines who had been missing in California have been found dead. A search began for their helicopter after it was reported overdue early Wednesday morning. The helicopter was found yesterday in Pine Valley, just over 40 miles east of San Diego. The Marines were taking part in a training flight from Creech Air Force Base near Las Vegas, Nevada, when it was reported overdue. In Maryland, law enforcement leaders are celebrating Black History Month. Maryland State Police Colonel Roland Butler Jr. was recently joined by police chiefs from Anne Arundel and Baltimore counties for a special conversation about the history they've made in their careers. Butler was the first black person appointed as superintendent of Maryland State Police. You can view the full video on YouTube. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Robert Half research indicates 9 out of 10 hiring managers are having difficulty hiring. Robert Half is here to help. Their recruiting professionals use proprietary AI to connect businesses with highly skilled talent. At Robert Half, they know talent. Visit roberthalf.com today.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Apparently, the Clippers still have some jet lag issues after being on the road for 7 games in 13 days. They were sluggish last night against New Orleans. The Clippers committed 19 turnovers and lost by 11 at Crypto.com. Kawhi Leonard and Paul George made only 7 of 25 shots. PG was 0 for 8 on three-pointers. This team needs some rest. The NBA trade deadline is today at noon. The Lakers may be on the clock. Stay tuned. Kobe Bryant's statue will be unveiled today at 3 p.m. in Star Plaza outside Crypto. Kobe is the 6th Lakers player to have a statue outside the arena. He joins Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Elgin Baylor, Jerry West, Shaquille O'Neal, and Magic Johnson. The NFL Hall of Fame, the class of 2024, will be announced tonight in Vegas. Former Chargers tight end Antonio Gates, an 8-time All-Pro, is among the finalists. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Are you interested in catching up on all the latest entertainment news, trending topics, and exciting interviews? I got you. Tune in to The Raw Report with Robin Ayers, Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. I'm your host, Robin Ayers. Join me every weekday with some of the best entertainment contributors in the business as we break down what's going on, who's got next, and what not to miss. Only on The Raw Report with Robin Ayers.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. This is KBLA Talk 1580, home of the 2024 Climate Justice Campaign.
If you like using debit over credit, shouldn't you also get rewarded? Well, now you can with Discover Cashback Debit. It's a checking account that rewards everyone with cash back on everyday purchases with no fees, period. Check out eligibility and terms at discover.com/cashbackdebit. Discover Bank, member FDIC.
Psst. Hey, I have a secret. I use Secret Whole Body Deodorant because more than just my armpits stink.
Oh, can I use it where my bra rubs under my...
Oh, yeah.
And what about down there? You know, my...
Totally. 4 out of 5 gynecologists would recommend it. So I tried it, and now I get 72 hours of freshness from my pits to my...
Ooh, I love that it's a spray.
Me too. And it comes in sticks and creams, too. Go get your Secret Whole Body Deodorant.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles is a nonprofit law firm that protects and advances the rights of the most underserved, leveling the playing field and ensuring that everyone can have access to the justice system. Every year, LAFLA provides free, high-quality legal services to more than 100,000 people living in poverty across greater Los Angeles. Their unique combination of neighborhood offices, self-help centers at courthouses, crisis and domestic violence clinics puts Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles on the front lines in vulnerable communities and at the forefront of change. LAFLA's expert team of attorneys, paralegals, and support staff works to provide direct representation, offer counsel and advice, provide referrals, and educate the community about their legal rights through workshops and seminars. With locations all over LA, you can access their services or volunteer to help no matter where you live. And if you have an urgent issue, call 213-235-0060. That's 213-235-0060. To get legal help, make a donation, or volunteer, visit lafla.org. lafla.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Let's get back to more of Tavis Smiley right now.
We all know Rock the Boat would be Aaliyah's final performance. And the choreographer on that project is our guest in this hour, Fatima Robinson, who has had quite the career working with some of everybody. And I know you never close on the death of a loved one like you close on a house, anybody you love. But Fatima, when you hear her music, particularly this track, all these years later, closer to 25 than 20 now, what do you think? How's it hit you?
I mean, I love Aaliyah and her music, and I really feel like her spirit is still with me. You know, one of the things that when my first conversation about the movie Color Purple, when I met with the director, he told me that in Ghana, in high school, there was a talent competition, and 80% of the school did Aaliyah's Are You That Somebody, including him and his dance team. And he said, in Ghana, in high school, I'm going to work with her one day. Meaning me. And so for me, I feel like she even brought that project into my life. And little things like that kind of show up around her and her spirit and the connection that we had. And so I still feel like she's a part of me.
Yeah. I could spend this entire hour just talking about all the folk you've worked with, and I wouldn't have enough time to do that. But at a certain point in your career, things really start to take off for you, and now you're not just dancing with artists or even choreographing for artists, but now you're doing major commercials. Tell me about that part, and when the career really jumps off.
Yeah, it's funny. I had one of the commercials that I really wanted to do was Gap commercial, and I would audition as a dancer all the time, but I never got it. And then one time, Hype got a Gap commercial to direct and brought me in to choreograph.
Hype would be Hype Williams, yes.
Hype Williams, yeah. And so I ended up choreographing this Gap commercial, but because I was around the agency so much through the casting process and all the things, kind of fell in love with who I was. And when one of the dancers didn't work out on the day, they asked, Fatima, would you be in the commercial? And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. But inside, I was going crazy. It was something I always wanted to do. And they said, well, we want you to dress yourself because we like your own personal style. So go in the room and do what you do. So I go in the room and I cut up a linen shirt and I make a head wrap and I put on my khakis and I do my thing. And so I get in front of the camera. And at the time, the agency was really particular about people's personal jewelry. They always made everybody take off their jewelry. Mm-hmm. And so as I was in there and I could see my reflection in the camera, they said, can you take off the earrings? So I had these big hoop earrings. And every black girl knows that head wraps and hoop earrings just go together. And so I see myself in the mirror and I'm like, in the reflection of the camera, and I'm like, I can't do the head wrap, guys, without the hoop earrings. They just go together. And they're like, give her the hoop earrings. So I put on the earrings and I open and close the commercial. That's the Khaki Soul with the beautiful song Lovely Day by Bill Withers playing. And one of the greatest things that came out of that was maybe a month later, I was in New York and I was catching an early morning flight home and I was in the car service and it was still dark outside and, we were driving to the airport and we stopped at a light and I looked over and there was a Gap store and in the window was a mannequin dressed exactly like me with the head wrap and the hoop earrings. And that's when I realized that I actually move culture forward as well. I'm not just a choreographer. And so I kind of started inserting myself in other parts of what I do.
Yeah. So since we're there, we're right there. Let's just step across the line. Talk to me then about the ways in which you have weaved fashion, music, and choreography over the course of your career.
Yes, I mean, just for me, if the wardrobe doesn't look right, then the dance is going to be awful. Like if you're not working together with the fashion, then it sometimes hides the dance, sometimes impedes the dancers from doing what they need to do. So for me, I've always been very vocal about what we need in that area. And I soon began to find out it was a title for it. It's called creative director, where a person comes in and they become the point person that everybody goes to for the style and look and direction that everyone is moving towards, so that it all is cohesive and it serves the performance so much better when you have someone like that. And so I was like, well, that's what I'm doing anyway, so I'm going to call myself that and charge even more money.
And there you go, charge more, absolutely. Let me go back, before I move forward, let me go back one more time because I want to just let that thing settle on me and settle on the audience. When you're in that car early morning in New York City and you're at the stoplight and you look inside that Gap window and you see this mannequin dressed just like you were in the commercial for the Gap, and you realize the power that you have to move the culture. What did that notion, what did that reality in that moment imbue you with? What comes of you accepting that you do have that sort of power and presence?
Yeah, I guess it is the acceptance of it, because, some people may have it and be scared of it or just not know how to articulate it. But for me, I felt like I was always doing it. I just didn't, I didn't realize, it's funny because what we do, we no one gave us as hip-hop kids permission to do what we did. We just literally figured it out on our own. I mean, all of our parents thought we were crazy and like, what is this music and what is this sound and what are you doing? You're going on tour? You want to go on tour and you're 18 years old, And it was like, but I quickly realized that what I did and what I gave to people in the room was I actually gave them permission to be the person that they didn't even realize was in them. And I pulled that out of them, and we presented it to the world. And, you know, you build on that. And so a bit of that was me and what I do, you know, just being able to see, wow, all my travels, all the rooms that I've been in, all the people that I'm around, the clubs that I study in, all that is collection of information that I have that they don't. And what I have is valuable, you know? And so when I looked at it like that, I just went, yeah, I'm valuable, and I'm going to make them see this.
Somebody told me years ago, it is at times better to ask for forgiveness than permission. Sometimes it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. I digress. More with Fatima Robinson when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
From Leimert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
Follow the leader. KBLA Talk 1580. Follow the leader. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at KBLA 1580. Follow the leader.
Are you ready?
The station leading the way with exclusive interviews,
Follow the leader.
stimulating conversation, and intellectual discourse that empowers, enlightens, and informs.
Follow the leader.
Follow the leader at KBLA 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Keep following the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do Black history every single day. In fact, as the only Black talk radio station west of the Mississippi, we are Black history. Our annual Black History Month luncheon is fast approaching, and we want to be sure to give you ample time to get your company, organization, church, or group to join us at this year's celebration on the last day of the month, Thursday, February 29th at noon. Last year, we honored iconic local Black media personalities, including Pat Harvey, Jim Hill, Mark Brown, Beverly White, Sandy Banks, and Pat Prescott, and raised $20,000 in scholarships. This year, we're honoring Black Hollywood creatives who have used their artistic genius as climate justice champions. At this year's luncheon, we will be showcasing and sharing their inspiring work on our big screen. Plus, a scrumptious meal, live music, great company, and lots of fun with your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts. So contact us today at info@smileyaudio.com or call 323-290-4690. That's info@smileyaudio.com or call 323-290-4690. We hope to see you Thursday, February 29th as we close out Black History Month. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your Black.
He's rooting for everybody Black. Everybody Black. More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now.
Our guest is Fatima Robinson, brilliant choreographer who I am honored to have on this program. Let me ask, Fatima, I'm curious as to whether or not you are still studying in clubs. You still hanging out there to see what you can see?
You know, I don't go to clubs that much anymore. When I travel, I'll hang out with the dancers and we'll go to clubs.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like my rehearsal room is a club. You know, at times I put on other music, the dancers show me things. I think with the invention of things like YouTube and TikTok,
right,
I don't necessarily have to go to clubs to find the latest stuff. It's all at my fingertips and my phone. So when I'm in the studio with my dancers and they're doing like the latest thing, I'm like, ooh, what's that? They're like, oh, that's the latest TikTok thing. I'm like, ooh, show me. And then they show me the TikTok thing and we crack up laughing. I'm like, ooh, let's make a TikTok. And then, I'll join into some of their TikToks just to be silly. And I just love where dance is, where it's just a new time, and I can right here on my phone discover all the things. Yeah.
To that phrase, how would you describe where dance is in this moment?
I think dancing's in such an amazing place. A lot of times it will go away and reinvent itself and come back, especially with the music. As the music changes, the dance changes, but I think with the popularity of social media and how much joy dance brings people when they're watching it in their everyday lives, the kind of clips that people share with each other of just regular people dancing, I love it so much. It's so part of everybody's life. Even if you don't get up and actually do it yourself, you still enjoy watching a fun clip of somebody dancing.
Have you found that over the years, your inspiration comes from different or varied places?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I can get inspiration just sitting in a hotel lobby and watching how the people move through the space. I'm a people watcher for sure, and I stay very curious about what people's interests are and how they interpret music and how they like to move. Like all of that, I'm completely I stay open.
When we come forward in our remaining moments with Fatima Robinson, I want to go back to an earlier part of our conversation, actually the very beginning, when she was, we were tickled about her comment about being a Virgo, and she said, shout out to all the Virgos, and I said to her, you are talking to a Virgo. And so we kind of laughed about that. And her point was that being a Virgo means you are a perfectionist, and I can relate to that. So I want to ask her when we come forward in our remaining moments, I can see what the upside is of her being a perfectionist. You see that in her work. You see that. That's the upside. But what's the downside to being a perfectionist in her field? You're listening to Fatima Robinson, and I'm glad about it, on Tavis Smiley.
Unapologetically progressive. Unapologetically black. You're tapped into Tavis Smiley.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment through the arts. Tia Chucha Central Cultural is on a mission to transform community in the Northeast San Fernando Valley and beyond through ancestral knowledge, the arts, literacy, and creative engagement. The Northeast San Fernando Valley has a population of about 500,000, the size of the city of Oakland, yet it has no bookstores, art galleries, or full-fledged cultural spaces until Tia Chucha's opened its doors in 2001. Founded by renowned poet and activist Luis Rodriguez, Tia Chucha's Cultural Center provides a year-round free or low-cost arts and literacy bilingual intergenerational programming in mural painting, music, dance, writing, visual arts, healing art sessions, and healing talking circles. Activities also include Mexica, Aztec dance, indigenous cosmology, philosophy, and 2 weekly open mic nights, one in Spanish, the other in English. In addition, they host author readings, film screenings, and art exhibits. To express yourself, heal yourself, attend an event, or volunteer, please visit www.tiachucha.org. That's TIACHUCHA.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. 120,000 miles of night drives, daily commutes, and who knows how many.
Are we there yet?
Through countless fixes, elbow grease, and a new radiator, you kept your ride alive. With eBay Motors, you have over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Fatima Robinson. Okay, Fatima, we started out the conversation laughing about this, about Virgos being perfectionists. I see the upside of that in your work and your witness. What's the downside to being a choreographer who is a perfectionist?
Maybe my son should answer that one. I think that I think that, you know, as Virgos, as perfectionists, we can overanalyze things, you know, and I've really taught myself how to not overanalyze life, overanalyze the routine, overanalyze, you know. I kind of trained myself to allow for the creative process to happen, and at a certain point, you know, after building it, after you know, revisiting it, after doing all the things, to like walk away and let it breathe and let it have its life, and not like pick at it to the point that it just, you know, you ruin it. So, and I have to remember that in life too, you know, not trying to choreograph everybody's life and make everything picture perfect everywhere I go.
No.
To allow freedom of, you know, life to happen.
I love that transparency. I love that honesty. I hear Miles, my boy, out playing some Happy from Pharrell, and I assume he's doing that because he knows that you did that performance as well. For his Oscar performance, your choreography of that. Yeah. You'll get a kick out of this. Your fans have shown up all this hour. I haven't had a chance to even get to this, but I have a really smart audience, and you got a lot of fans in this audience, and I've been cracking up at all the things they've been sending me that you've done in your career, as if I didn't do my research, number one. But number two, I ain't got time to give y'all everything Fatima did in her career. So let me just run some of the things that your fans want me to let the audience know that I know that you did. They want to remind me, they have reminded me that you did the 50th hip-hop show that the Grammys did. You choreographed that, celebrating 50 years of hip-hop.
I was executive producer on that one.
Yes, you were. So your fans want me to make sure I know that, so we got that out. I'm checking that off. They wanted me they wanted me to mention that you choreographed Pharrell's Oscar performance of Happy. We're playing that right now. And they want me to mention The Color Purple, which you mentioned earlier, The Color Purple. They want me to mention the Grammys over the weekend. I'm mentioning the Grammys, and I'm out of time, so I got to stop. But these are just notes to me from your fans, Fatima, so you should know that these folk know what you've done and how you've shown up, and they love it, and they wanted to make me aware of it. So thank you again for all the happiness that you have brought to us, the joy that your work has brought to us. It's an honor to have had this hour to talk to you. I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. Wish you nothing but the best in the coming days, weeks, months, and years. Thank you, Fatima Robinson. Good to have you on.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
My great delight. Our show is done. 3 hours gone, just like that. Tomorrow's what, Friday? Yeah, so tomorrow's the best of Tavis Smiley. Some amazing conversations tomorrow that you might have missed earlier this week as we premiere again the best of Tavis Smiley tomorrow. Until then, thanks for tuning in, and as always, keep the faith.
KBLA 15.